Rocksmith is a Ubisoft original franchise that's already 10 years old. It started as a competitor to games like Rock Band or Guitar Hero and turned it up to 11 by giving players the ability to play with actual instruments instead of cheap plastic toys that resembled guitars. It featured a very comprehensive catalog of rock and hard rock and even metal songs that you could even complete with additional DLCs of songs from your favorite bands if those were not included in the original package. The game was already a game/learning tool hybrid with a focus on enjoyment and challenges, including some really cool game mode like non-stop play or even a concert hall which lets you play in front of an audience of NPCs. That mode, however, was bugged and did not make it to the sequel Rocksmith 2014, which added more tutorials and improved sound quality and note recognition and brought a large amount of additional songs. Since then, Rocksmith 2014 got a remastered edition with even more mini-modes and challenges, as well as good amount of fixes. The title was then kept alive by a very large selection of DLCs that players could handpick according to their taste. Rocksmith 2014 was not flawless though, and I would say that its biggest strength was the ability to play with a real instrument. However, it was also its biggest weakness, and this was due to its instrument to PC interface, which was built in a jack especially made for the game, and anyone who is familiar with the series know that I am talking about the infamous real-tone cable, which was both expensive and fragile. As far as I am concerned, I had to change 3 times over the course of over 2,000 hours of game time playing the bass, but I know that some people had to change their cables even more than that. There were solutions though to get rid of the real-tone cable, and that was the form of third-party interfaces like the Focusrite Scarlett that I am using, but they required a very annoying procedures to function. Fun fact, actually, the tutorial video that I made to teach you guys how to install it on Rocksmith 2014 is actually this channel's most successful video. Eventually, live service for Rocksmith 2014 was discontinued in 2020 as Rocksmith Plus, its subscription-based successor that I am reviewing today, was eventually announced with a promise of better ergonomics, better response, and thousands of songs that release with new arrivals each month. I was a little shocked by the move to an old-fashioned subscription service, as it kind of felt like a throwback to the early 2000s, where there were plenty of online games that had a business model like that. And by the way, if I looked at the DLC that I have bought over the years, well, yeah, there were a lot of those, and I thought that it could potentially be a good idea if the selection was alright. So I got all hyped up and signed up to the beta, which I eventually got access to through the summer of 2021, and oh boy, it was bad. I think that the worst experience I had was, as a veteran player, that I felt alienated. It seemed that despite, people like me who were pushing the franchise forward and keeping it alive, Ubisoft had decided to cater to a completely different audience, with rock and metal becoming marginal in the catalog in favor of new genres like pop, R&B, Latin or hip-hop, which had far more songs available. Also, the tone of the game was radically different too. Gone were the grungy tones of the original games. The bro who was talking to us in the game with its cool West Coast accent was also gone. Instead, we had a clean, flashy, colorful interface and feminine voices greeting us. It was quite a change indeed. Now, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Ubisoft trying to open them to a new audience. I think it's great. I just find it unfortunate that they didn't keep us, the original players, in mind when they originally designed the game. This was my feedback that I sent at the end of the beta program, and it seemed that I was not the only one to respond negatively, because it was followed by a whopping 12-month delay that the developers used to incorporate our feedback and learn from our comments, and I wanted to commend them for doing so and listening to us. So, were they successful though? Well, this is what we are going to discuss right now. The first thing that I would like to mention is that the real-tone cable, although is still an option, is no longer the only officially supported interface, and that is wonderful news. You can now use an app that you can download on your phone or play via your amplifier or your acoustic guitar directly through the microphone of your phone. Personally, I did not try this method because I have my own doubts regarding latency, and the few returns that I have read were not fantastic. No, for me, The big winner here is that now third-party interfaces like the Focusrite Scarlett that I have been using for years are now fully native to Rocksmith, and we no longer need to go through the complicated process that we had to go through in the previous game. And because it is native to the program, it also works much better with no latency to report and an improved sound quality as well that I had already noticed in the beta, and it is of course still here in the release version. As far as playing the songs goes, I have not noticed any delay or lag as mentioned earlier, and it really seems like all of the notes that I am playing are properly registered by the program. I haven't had any cases of which the game should have recorded a note that I would have played but counted it as a miss instead, which was something that occasionally happened in Rocksmith 2014, especially when using the Focusrite. I am also glad to see that the game looks a little more badass than the demo was, with the color theme reminiscent of the older Rocksmith games. In the end, it's not the most important thing, but it does keep you in the mood to rock, and in the end it keeps me motivated to play a couple of extra songs when I start to feel tired instead of just quitting because I'm not having comfortable vibes. However, where I think that Rocksmith Plus shines is via its music learning program, which is really something that Ubisoft has been putting forward, no longer calling this a musical game, but truly a music learning tool. Personally, I think it's a shame because I really liked the Rock Band or Guitar Hero vibes that we were getting in the first game, but I gotta say that I have been able to witness how powerful of a musical tool it is with my own 8-year-old son who started learning to play the guitar. So far, we're still getting started, but after 2 hours, he had already learned how to hold the pick properly and how to hold his guitar properly, which strings were which ones, how to plug the strings properly, the differences between a normal note and a sustained note, and he even started doing his first chords while taking on some rookie challenges that were tracking his progression and encouraging him as he was improving. Now, I've got to say that that particular bit here is a little bit bugged because at some point he went from a score of 60% to a score of 40%, and the game told him that it was his best performance yet, so that was a bit weird. Nevertheless, it managed to do something that I could not do when I taught him the guitar myself. It had put a smile on his face and it motivated him to go forward, and that in my eye is priceless and definitely worth the monthly fee, which by the way is much cheaper than if I had actually had paid one-on-one classes with a physical teacher. However, if you are a veteran Rocksmith player and you are looking for an experience that will enhance the gameplay feature that you had known with the previous titles, then you are in for a major disappointment. First, the non-stop mode, which was cherished by a lot of players because it basically allowed us to basically set up a set list for home concert, is gone. So now you will have to manually select your songs one by one, which I think is a bummer. And next, I am going to address the elephant in the room, which is the song list, which in my opinion is nothing less than a scam. And yes, I said it. You see, we were promised 5,000 songs at launch. The problem is that none of these songs are A-list songs. These are not the A-list songs that we had in previous Rocksmiths. No, all of these songs are gone, including those from DLCs, and in fact there are very few A-listers among the artists represented in the song library, and when they are, their songs are either not the most famous or they are weird live versions that do not resemble the studio versions that we actually want to learn. I mean, the live versions would be great for non-stop play, but of course that mode is not here. Also, I find it very strange that some artists or bands get overrepresented. For example, there are literally dozens of Catatonia or Cradle of Filth songs, but only one Metallica song, and at least there is one Metallica song because, as I mentioned before, most A-list names are simply missing, and that's really a big loss here because when I play Rocksmith, I want to play and master my favorite songs from my favorite artists. Sure, it's a great opportunity to go out there with an open mind and discover new artists and new songs, but in the end, it still remains a major disappointment that I hope they are going to fix in the future. I have one last thing to say. Sometimes it just feels weird that when we have like an intro song, it's actually separated from the main song. For example, when you look at Alan Parsons' project, you have the double songs, Sirius and The Eye in the Sky. These two should be played together because they follow each other, but in the game they are separated, so sometimes it feels like the developers themselves don't really know how these song works. This was also something that I saw in previous games, like Rocksmith 2014, where you had a Judas Priest DLC, and you had this song called Electric Eye, but Electric Eye is always played with the Hellion before, so it's really weird that they don't have these intros before the songs. But anyway, I'm just nitpicking here. So anyway, that is all that I had to say here about Rocksmith Plus, which again is great if you want to start from zero like my son, and it is a technical advancement compared to previous iterations. However, if you are an original player, you will be very disappointed by the current song selection, and I would suggest that you stick with Rocksmith 2014 until we see major improvements. That is why I will give Rocksmith Plus a severe 5 out of 10 right now. Again, where the title really loses points is with its decideful promotion of their 5,000 songs that for the most part no one asked for. And that is it for today's video, and if you enjoyed this review or find it useful, don't hesitate to give it a like and subscribe for more gaming content. I do plan to make more Rocksmith videos in the future, and hopefully we'll have some better news, right? Anyway guys, I wish you all a wonderful day. It's been the Eradicator, and I will see you guys later.